Hi, my name's Steve and welcome to the Seaside Allotment channel. Now today I'm not on the allotment, it's too hot, so I thought I'll just do you a quick update on the database tools that I've been using to manage my allotment. And the tools are free, and you can either start from scratch using just the underlying airtable database framework, or you can take a copy of my tools and play with them as you will. Obviously they're my tools, so they're kind of tuned to my particular needs, and they're populated with my data. But other than that, you can play away, you can modify them and improve them, do whatever you want basically. So I'll show you what I've been up to and on the computer. See you soon. So here's a quick update on the databases that I use for managing the allotments. So I'm using this Airtable database, and it's a fantastic web-based database, but it works on tablets and phones and stuff as well. It's not quite as feature-rich on the phone. It is free, but there are some limitations. And it has this feature that allows people who use it to share their databases, and it calls that its Airtable universe. And you can see this amazing diversity of databases that people have created and shared. I shared some of mine, and you can find them under Steve's Seaside Allotment. You can find that just by searching the universe there. And I've shared two of mine, which I'm going to show you now. So the first one is one I call my master planning database, and this one contains a table for all the different varieties that I grow, a sowing log that has an entry for every batch of seed that I sow, and first harvest dates, which is something I'm just starting to do, is to formally track each first harvest that I have in the year, and my objective is to try and get those first harvest dates as early as possible, and I'll probably have a last harvest dates as well, where I do the same thing, but at the moment I'm concentrating on first harvest dates given the time of year. So yeah, there's a lot of information in this varieties database, and whilst this sort of template would be useful for lots of people, it's really tuned to my unique requirements, and that's the beauty of Airtable, is that you could take a copy of my database, and I'll show you how to do that. There's a link to the description of how to do that in the notes for this video. But you can take a copy and then you can just customize it. You can delete things that you don't want, and you can add things that are specific to you. So, for example, I sort of played around over winter by giving everything that I grow a health score, a taste score, and a value score, and then I used a little formula to calculate a rank, and that allowed me, for example, if I sort that there, to come up with a rank order of things that I grow. So starting with colettes, which I'm always going on about, and garlic, and clumps of sprouts, which we grow for the leaves, and dazzling blue kale, and tessie lettuce, and all of that sort of thing. But one of the really things I really love about Airtable is this gallery view, and that allows me, if I get the right one, there we go, to just pull up this really beautiful view, and this is the rank order database that I was talking about, just rendered in a different way. And so you can see all the things that I love, ordered by how healthy they are, how tasty they are, and how prolific they are, and how expensive they are. So yeah, fantastic. Now then, what else have I got to show you? So this is just the standard database view that I was looking at earlier, but in this case I've sorted it by whether it's a fruit or a vegetable, the family that it's in, and the type of fruit or vegetable. So I start off with, obviously, with all the fruits that we grow, and then we come on to the herbs, and then the alliums, alphabetical order, and then the broccolis and the cabbages, the calabrese, the cauliflowers, the kales. It's just gorgeous, isn't it? Squashes, courgettes, beans, chilies and peppers, carrots, beetroot, lots of carrots, potatoes, radishes, lots of radishes, loads of tomatoes, stacks and stacks of lettuces. I love my lettuce mixes. Spinaches and the chards. So that, I think, is enough on the varieties database, but it is amazingly customizable. You can change the way these cards appear, for example. You can add and remove information from them. You can, so this is a completely different view, for example, of those cards. You can sort, you can filter. I'll just show you a quick filter. So you can say, for example, add filter where variety contain that variety. Let's do type, and let's just pick sweet cherries, for example. So amazingly flexible, really fantastic. So I just wanted to show you two examples of how customizable Airtable is. So a friend of mine, Jerry from Grow Seed, he sent me a really nice packet of free seeds the other day, and it's a small sort of artisan seed grower, and so really nice, interesting selection. So I used my Airtable database, and I added a field for Jerry and Grow Seed, and these are the varieties of seeds they sent me. And so that was really great, because he sends me lots of seeds and they're really nice, and it means that I can see which ones Jerry's got for me. So that's a really nice example. And another example is something I'm just starting to play around with, which are stars. So out of the 250 varieties of things that we grow, what are the stars for each of the seasons? So this is by no means complete at this point in time, but so this cauliflower, North Fourlander, that is fantastic in winter outdoors. All year round is really good in spring outside. Graffiti is really great for summer outside. Romanesco cauliflower is great in the winter in the polytunnel. Nero Black Magic kale is really good as an early kale grown under low tunnels to harvest in spring. Brendan's really nice, of sprouts sown in clumps of 3, and that gives you fantastic sprout leaves in spring when mostly the brassicas have gone. So I won't go through all of these, but I've just started this now, and so this is part of my planning to get the very best varieties for the best season with the best type of protection, grown in the best place, basically. So yeah, lots of potential for customization. So let's take a look at the sowing log. So everything that I sow, in this case we're looking at French breakfast radish, has a unique ID associated with it that Airtable creates automatically, and I put that on the label. And so I don't have to write out French breakfast radish on everything. I can just write ID 1, and then I can quickly look up on my phone what ID 1 is, and I can see it's French breakfast radish. And I sowed it on the 5th of January. This is the seed packet. There's a little picture there of the seed packet that I used. I sowed it on the windowsill in the bedroom, and germinated on the 10th of January, etc, etc. So loads and loads of information. And just enter all those, and obviously it's quite a bit of work the first time I do it, but basically what I'm doing here is I'm building up my sowing database for next year. And the reason that for this is because I'm scoring, if we scroll right across here, all the way across, I'm giving everything that I sowed a rating from 1 to 10 and noting down any problems that I had with it. So basically sowings that aren't highly rated probably won't make it through to next year, but anything that was successful, I'll just check the notes for that, and I'll tune my sowing dates for next year based on this database. And obviously I can just take a quick copy of this database, rename this one to be 2019, and then I'll have the sowing log for 2020. Now I find this incredibly useful, and I can use it for all sorts of things. So for example, I can list here anything that I haven't sown yet that I'm meant to have sown. I can list anything that I sowed that failed. I can list everything that I sowed in February or May. Yeah, it's just fantastic. I love it. And you can filter things, sort things, all sorts of options. Really is quite amazing. So next one is first harvest dates. So I really love this one. I'm sort of really starting to see the benefit of tracking this, because it's going to give me a really great idea as to when to sow things and what I can expect to be eating at what times of year, because we're pretty much self-sufficient in veg, so it's really, really nice to see what our diet's going to look like each month. So for example, well, what I haven't tracked in here are things that I overwintered. So the red kitten spinach, Romanesco cauliflowers, we had those on the February the 9th. The first ones of those, January Kings, first on February 15th. Marathon Calabrese, had those on March the 3rd. March the 11th we started the radishes, and obviously I'm not going to go through all this, but look at the potatoes. We had the potatoes on the 11th of January, 11th of April, and they were Charlotte, and this is the link to the entry for Charlotte in the varieties database. So that's where I've got all sorts of information about Charlotte and when to sow it and where to sow it, and yeah, photos of the harvest and all that sort of thing. I had my first carrots on April the 29th, so those were amazing. Had my first strawberries today, and yeah, first cauliflower last week. So yeah, it's fantastic. I really love it. I find this really, really useful, and of course I'm competing against myself, so next year it'll be really interesting to see how I do. And what I'll be doing next year is I'll be changing the name of this field from first harvest date to 2019 first harvest date, and I'll have another field for 2020 first harvest date, and I can compare the two, and I can create subtract automatically one date from the other to see how much earlier or later I was from last year. There's just so much opportunity to have fun playing around over winter. And when you have an allotment and it takes up a lot of time in spring and summer and autumn, you need something to fill that time in winter, and this is one of the things that I've been playing around with. So there we go, that's the planning database. And I've also got a management database, and I'll try and speed up a bit, but I've got harvest tally, a spending log, weekly totals and monthly totals. So where should we start? Well, basically every time we do a harvest we have an entry in here, and we log who did the harvest, who the harvest was for, a photo of the harvest, the number of boxes that we harvested, the number of those boxes that were for us, and that means Debbie and I, Jenny, John and Robin, the value of the total harvest, the savings off our food bill, and that's pretty much it. And so this is again really nice. And we've got a gallery view again where you can see pictures of the harvests, and just so green, aren't they? So green at this time of year. But they're going to start getting a lot more colourful very quickly, so that's really good. And I can do things like I can just group by week, I can group by month, and all those are really useful because I can use this, and I do use it when I'm doing my diary. So yeah, so you can see, and I can also pop up some like little graphs. Of course it takes forever when you're doing this live, but yeah, so you can see here the harvest values, and they go right up, and the peak on the 15th of April, and that's kind of peak because after that all overwintered brassicas were pulled out, and so we were back on to just the spring planted brassicas, and obviously the quantity of those was a bit lower, so it dropped down for 3 weeks, and it's just starting to pick up again because the quantity of the brassicas is increasing. So yeah, lots of really nice little graphs as well. And yeah, same story for months. So let's take a quick look at spending log. So this is everything that I spent, and this is grouped in this case by month, and it's a similar story. You've got pictures of the things that I bought. We track the people that we harvest for, or the families that we harvest for. These are just the names of the contacts in those families, and you can see that by far we harvest the most for Debbie and I, by far, and then Jenny, and then Diane, and Diane gives us eggs, and then Eleanor, next door neighbour, Tony, etc, etc. So yeah, we eat the lion's share of stuff from the allotment, but we do have a surplus, and there we go, sharing the surplus. So then I've got this table here that Airtable automatic, well, it doesn't automatically create it, but it does all the work for me behind the scenes, and this just adds everything up by week. So total number of boxes that week, total number of meals associated with those boxes, the total value, the total savings, the total spending, the things that we spent the money for that week. And I have this because it's really useful, because when I do my diary, all the information that I need for my diary is in there. So that, I think, is pretty much it. And actually, just for fun there, I've got one for my books. So these are the books that I've read this year, and I've got the book covers in here, and some of them were good and some of them were rubbish, but I won't tell you which ones. So you can see it's really, really flexible, and it's really nice that other people have used this and shared their databases with me. And so this is somebody that's shared their database, and I really enjoyed having a look at it, because it's really, really interesting to see, all the amazing things that other people are growing. And this particular lady has an amazing selection, look, just an amazing selection of herbs, and yeah, I've learned a lot just by looking through this, and lots of things in here that I'd really quite like to try. So yeah, that's really nice as well. So if you've used my database and created your own, then it'd be really nice if you shared it back so that I could have a look. So that's it. And yeah, I just, you know, it is work, well, fun really, to create something like this. But yeah, I'm finding it really enjoyable. Especially as I start linking all the databases together, so there's a lot less redundant information. And obviously at the moment this is like data entry year, and I'm really hoping that this can be the foundation for making my life really quick and simple in future years, because all the information will be in here, and you know, everything I need to do basically is in here. All the knowledge that I have about gardening is in here. All the knowledge I have about what plants work well at what times of year is in here. What things to plant in what type, under what types of cover is in here. You know, it's just fantastic. So I've got loads of plans for next year. This is going to keep you busy on the few rainy days in winter. And so with that, I'll say goodbye and thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.